Well, you've been shooting that 6.5 Creedmoor for about 2 years. You just got into PRS like me, and you're thinking, you know, I love this cartridge, but the thing I don't like about it is the recoil because it tends to take me off the target. And, you know, I'm seeing these other guys go to the 6mm stuff and talking to some of my friends, my buddy Jeff, you hear that name all the time. And really they're saying, look, the 6mm, there's a lot of advantages to it. And one of those advantages is less recoil. You can stay on your target. So I've decided to go down the rabbit hole and go from a 6.5 Creedmoor to a 6mm BRA cartridge. Hey everyone, it's the 4-Gun Guy. And today's journey is going to be just about this, about why I made the decision, why I chose the 6BRA, and then everything that comes into consideration when you do decide to make that change. So I want to talk about that. I want to talk about not only those things that you need to take into consideration, but the cost of those things. And then we're going to talk about a little range time that I had with the first 40 rounds down this barrel. I'm going to also talk about the barrel here. I went with the same guys who made my pre-fit 6.5 Creedmoor barrel. So, got a lot to cover. Going to try to make it kind of short. And if you're ready to go, let's get started. Well, let me start with why I chose the 6BRA. Now, there are a lot of BR type cartridges out there. They're the smaller 6mm cartridges. You've got the Dasher, the GT, the BR, and this is the BRA or Auckland Improved cartridge. There's a lot that you want to consider in these, and this was a couple of the things that I wanted to consider. Number one, I found that Alpha Brass, which is the brass I used for my 6.5 Creedmoor, had a 6BRA case already done. So I didn't have to fireform this from like a Lapua BR case or something like that. The shoulder is different on these. In a BR case, it's a 30-degree shoulder. On this one, it's a 40-degree shoulder. So there's a little difference there that you're going to waste some time and some powder, bullets, and brass fireforming that BR cartridge to a BRA cartridge. So I didn't want to do that, and I had just talked to some guys who had and are shooting the BRA cartridge, and they loved it. Now, I'm going to get into a few things that you need to be careful of with this cartridge here when we get to the shooting of it and the load development of it. But that's basically why I went with the BRA. It's some people say it's a more forgiving cartridge. It's easier to fireform, or there's little to no fireforming. In fact, a lot of the posts, the forums are saying, just load it up and take it to a match, fireform it there, right, during the match. When we get to the range time, we'll look and see how that might actually be true, that you could do that. So that's why I went with the BRA cartridge. Now let's talk about some things that I had to consider when I made this change, right? So the first thing I had to consider was the barrel. Now, I had really good luck with preferred barrel blanks. The guys there who spun me up or reamed me out a 6.5 Creedmoor barrel that spun right onto this impact precision action, and it did great. It's always done great. So I went to them with a 6BRA. We had a little misunderstanding, I think, there. They didn't think they had the reamer for it, but they did. Anyway, in the end, it all worked out, and they sent me this barrel. The barrel is beautiful. These guys do a beautiful job on the barrels. Now, I went with a 27-inch, so right in the middle. You'll read to where some guys are going 26, some say 28. I decided to go middle of the road. I went with a 27-inch and a 1 and 7.5 twist. So it's a faster twist rate than the 1.8 I had on the 6.5 Creedmoor. And from what I've read, you can go with a 1 to 8 with the BRA, but the 1 to 7.5 just allows you to really shoot heavier bullets. So if you want to do that, we're going to see how this all works out. I'm going to stick with the pretty much tried and true bullets as I can find them. Same thing with the powder. So I'm going to start putting this information up here on the board, up here on the screen, because these are the things you're going to have to consider. The first thing I had to consider was the barrel. And you know what? It didn't make it onto this list, but I have it on there. I'll make sure it makes it onto the final list. And that barrel was $500. So for them to spin it up, ship it to me with everything I wanted on it, $500, great deal. The next thing you need to consider is the brass itself, right? So I'm going from a 6.5 Creedmoor case. I need 6 BRA cases. I wanted to stick with Alpha for the reason I mentioned just a minute ago. They already have it all formed up and everything. It's great. So I went through my buddy David Lott at DI Precision, and I got 500 cases of that. Now, that's $125 a hundred, so there, right there again is $625 just for brass. You don't have to get 500. You can start with 200, start with 300. My whole thing, to be honest with you, was with the way things are today, they come into availability, then they get scarce, then they come into availability. My whole point was I want to get 500 and then I have 500 because I was good on primers. I can still use my CCI 450 primers in this brass. I found some Sierra Match King 107 grain bullets. I cannot find the Berger bullets. I just can't find them. So I went with the Sierra, which had good reviews. And I also got some Hornady 108 grain ELDMs. That's actually what I used to shoot the first 40 rounds through. So the bullets were the one thing that I really was worried about, but I found some. The second component that I was worried about, and I still am, is the powder. I don't have Varget. And I don't have the, what is it, H40, 4895, whatever the other Ogden powder is. I use H4350 for my 6.5 Creedmoor, and I've got a ton of it. So I wanted to keep using that. I went out on the 6BRA Facebook forum, asked for some input. Does anyone use this? One of my buddies uses it, and he gave me some great load information on it. And even a gentleman from South Africa gave me some great load information on using H4350. We're going to get to those results, though, in a little while. Just to say, though, now I had everything to load up a cartridge, but then there were some other things that I had to think about, when you're working that cartridge up. So let's get to that. So now we're thinking that we're pretty close, right? We got a barrel, we got the cartridges, we got the bullets, we got the powder, primers, we're good to go. Yeah, no, you're not good to go. So you have to start thinking that now you need to have all the tools and all the equipment to reload these things, right? So that starts with the full-length sizing die. So I went with the Widden 6 BRA. So they have a full-length sizing die for this. That was $100, $102. And if you remember, the way I do my brass is I full-length size it, then I run an expander mandrel in it. So I don't do it all at one time. I run the mandrel in it because I actually double mandrel to expand that neck. That's just something I've done. I did a video on that if you want to look at that, and the results were pretty surprising with the 6.5 Creedmoor, and I'm going to try to redo those results with this and see if they make a difference. But double mandreling did make a difference for me. Then you've got the die bushings, so you've got to get those. I got 3 different sizes just to be sure, $30 a piece. Then you need, I talked about the expander die with the mandrel. That together was about $65. I've got the I ordered a new seating die, bullet seating die, and that was 113 bucks. That's my L.E. Wilson that I love this thing, so I use that. And then I have the MDT. You have to consider your magazines. You're not going to use your regular AICS magazines for this. It's better to get these magazines that have the, they've got a plate in the back here, so the cartridge actually extends out so you don't have issues feeding the rounds. So I got 2 of those at 90 bucks a piece. Those things aren't cheap. I had to get a new funnel for my powder loading, right? So that was an Area 419 funnel. I don't even think that made it onto this list, sorry. And then there were the things that, you know, that I didn't think about. One was the annealing machine. Now, I was running the annealies for my 6.5 Creedmoor. It worked great. I love that machine. But I put the BRA cartridge in there, and there was no way that thing was going to anneal this without burning those wheels to a crisp. So that's when I started to look at other annealing options. I'm not going to get an amp. I'm just not going to spend the money on that. And so I got the Bench Source by Vertex. And I really like this so far, and I'm going to do a video on this thing as well. I'm probably going to take this down to just 1 burner though. 2 burners makes me nervous, so I'd rather leave it longer on 1 burner than have 2 burners nuke it all at one time. So that's just me. But that was another thing I had to consider there. The other thing that I considered was the case trimmer. Now, I've been using this L.E. Wilson case trimmer, and it works great. It works great, but I figured since I'm changing cartridges, I wanted something that was a little faster for me, and honestly, a little more accurate, because that L.E. Wilson trimmer tends to drift a little bit as you use it. So I went ahead and got the Giro cartridge case trimmer. And so far I love this thing. But I bought this for my 6.5 Creedmoor. So what did I have to do? Well, I had to go out and buy the plate and the cutting head for the 6 BRA. So that was another, what is it, 92 bucks, 92 bucks. So, you know, and then the bullets, the Match King bullets, I got those for 40 cents. I ordered 500 of those just to start. So everything coming into this, when you're switching, now I can take the trimmer and the annealer off. And if I take the trimmer and well, I didn't include the cost of the trimmer. I included the cost of switching the heads on the trimmer. So that's in there. But if I just take the annealer out of there and say, look, you know, maybe you already have a bench source annealer, or you've got a amp annealer or something that will handle the BRA. You don't have to worry about that. But without the annealer, the changeover cost is still 2,000 bucks, right? $2,047.50. So it is not a trivial thing when you sit down and decide that you want to change your cartridge. Is it going to be worth doing that to me? I don't know. We're going to find out. In the first 40 shots, I liked what I saw and what I felt, and that makes a big difference to me. So with this new annealing machine, we're at like 2646. I already had the EC tuner brake, and that will work with the 6 millimeter. So again, I just wanted to kind of throw this at you, and so you knew that if you see these guys at the matches and you're thinking of moving from your 308, your 6.5 Creedmoor, whatever it is you've got going on there, and you want to get down to these other cartridges, just make sure that you do what I just did, right? Put a spreadsheet together. If you want to ping me in the comments, I'll happily send you that spreadsheet. You can use it as a reference of where I got this stuff. But just take all that into consideration. So I tell you what, let's now talk about the shots and the data from our first 40 rounds through this barrel. Okay, well, You know, there were a lot of things to consider here. I considered not using the tuner brake for the break-in period. And then I thought to myself, I'm not going to be that precise right off the bat. I want to break the barrel in first. And to me, that's going to be anywhere from 80 to 150 rounds. That's just the way the 6.5 barrels have been for me. Maybe it's less for this. Maybe it might be a little more. I hope it's not more. But so here's what I did. I loaded up some cartridges. I did mandrel them. So again, they're already ready to go. But I found the lands. So I used the Wheeler method to find the lands in the chamber and everything. Sorry, this thing bugs me here. And so I found the lands, and I decided I'm going to back off 20 thousandths off the lands, shoot the Hornady 108s, 20 thousandths off, and I loaded it up with 31.5 grains of H4350. Now, some people told me that they've gone up to 33 grains of H4350, and I'll tell you, I tried 32 grains and it was already crunching. So that's the one thing I'm going to tell you about is Varget is a faster powder than this 4350. The loads I'm seeing with Varget are around 29.5 grains, maybe 30 grains. That's what I'm seeing on the forums. I'm not saying that's what I'm using. I don't have it. But that's what I'm seeing on the forums. And that's giving velocities, from what I've read, around 2,900, 2850, I think, to 2,900. And again, it depends on a lot of other things, but from what I've been reading. Well, as I said, I put 32 grains of H4350 in there. I even, kind of did the old tamp it down, and I was still getting a little crunch when I seated the bullet 20 thousandths off the lands. I don't want to seat the bullet into the lands. I just don't want to do that right now, right? I've also read some forums where certain bullets, they're right on the lands or a little into the lands. But I'm not there yet. I just wanted to, number one, see what the fire forming of this brass looks like after it's been fired once. And there were some interesting results, but I'm going to hold off on those until another video on those results. But let's look at this chart. This is 40 rounds. And I got to tell you, this really worried the heck out of me because this is all over the place. Now, again, I didn't do my normal, well, I did. I expanded the necks, and then I ran them through a brush to clean the inside of the neck, which is what I always do. I always clean the inside of the neck with a nylon brush. So they were pretty much prepped the way I've prepped them. I had about 3 thousandths neck tension on these, and you can see what these velocities are, right? Now, the average velocity is 26, 25. That's really low to me, and that's a lot lower than I would have expected. My expectation is that that's going to speed up as the barrel breaks in, just as it did in my 6.5 Creedmoor. I remember that sped up about 60 feet per second, maybe even 70 feet per second, over about 130 rounds. So I'm hoping that's going to happen with this. But that SD and ES, those things are just horrific. If you look at this, the SD of 24.76, the ES of 107, that 3-shot MOA is not right in this image. It should be whatever. I think it's about I got it down to probably about 1/8 of an inch for the group. We'll look at that in a second. But I just want to say that the first 40 rounds numerically aren't giving me much confidence. Now, again, this is brand new brass, right? So we've got to look at that as well. I want to see, I'm going to put another 60 through that with brand new brass, then I'll have 100 rounds, And then I'm going to start playing with the different bullets that I have. Like I said, I've got these Sierra Match Kings, and I've got those ELDMs. These stats are from the ELDMs. Now, let's briefly go over this, the targets here. So again, out at the range, and I'll put some close-up shots of this, or maybe I'll just come in with it, and this thing's going to try to focus on my face because I have it to focus on my face. But look, if you look at this, I really started up here, up here, as you moved over. And here's where I started to say, I'm going to play around with the tuner as well. I might as well, because I can always retune it later. But as you can see, as I moved on and I moved on and I moved on, and I finally got right there. That's 3 shots right there, right there. And okay, that's a pretty good group. It's 100 yards. Again, first fired brass, with me just guessing about off the lands 20,000ths of an inch. And I would say that that's not bad, you know, after I ran that tuner up and down a little bit. So what I'm going to do is, as I said, take the 60 rounds. I'll probably just run those through, same thing, 20,000ths off. I did go out to 800 yards with some of those shots. And yeah, I was hitting the steel at 800 yards. I hadn't even adjusted the dope. I hadn't trued my dope. I hadn't done anything. So I was pretty happy. And remember to load a profile into your Kestrel so you have that. And I use the Applied Ballistics custom curves, so it worked out great. So yeah, there's some things to consider here. Let's go to final thoughts. Well, let's keep final thoughts pretty short. So far, I'm happy with this. The recoil is a lot less than the 6.5 Creedmoor. It really is. I was able to stay on target after the shot. And we'll just see how things work out. I'm going to load the next 60, run them through the barrel, see if those numbers calm down. I think they will. And then we'll move on from there. But I hope you enjoyed this one. I just like to kind of pull the covers back on things. So if you're thinking about making a cartridge change, just make sure you think about everything that's going to be involved, because it is not cheap. And there are some things, like I said about the annealer, that you may not be thinking of when you're making this change, but all of a sudden you get this little tiny cartridge and it doesn't work in what you have, and you're going to have to spend another $600 on something else. So with all that said, I've got some other good videos coming up. I am going to do one on the annealer here, and I'm going to do one on the Giro case trimmer, because I think this is a really, really nice device. I've liked it so far. And I got some other things coming up. So thanks for watching, everyone. And until next time, shoot straight.